Hello everyone, my name is Zoe Jemphy and I will be presenting my first design project so far. So, the brief was to create a language learning app, and it had 4 stipulations, 4 main ones that stood out to me. So number 1, it was an app for learning new vocabulary. Number 2, it was on the go. This means that the user should be able to use the app in in-between moments, like during a break or on transport. Number 3, personalization. Input ranging from adding new terminology to checking personalized statistics about oneself. And number 4, the app needs to be fast, simple, and intuitive. So initially, I checked out 4 major competitors according to the App Store to gauge what the features I should use and what's valued and what gap could potentially be missing in the market in this sector. Firstly, we have Quizlet. This is a leading learning app which has a USP for its large and interactive community base. It also is very clear and precise, so it's overall very good and effective app. Next, we have AnkiDroid. What I found out was that despite the advertised simple UI, it was rather difficult for me to see where to upload vocabulary, and the information architecture as a whole could have been improved. Next, we have Study Smarter. This has a unique focus timer, which I never saw in any of the other apps, and it allows you to time your learning into blocks. So it shows a kind of clock on the app, and you can see how far you're working. A downside of this is that although it has good intentions, it is quite distracting to see the clock ticking. Finally, we have Flashcards World. This suffers the same problem as AnkiDroid, as it's rather convoluted and in navigation, and it just doesn't flow for me personally. Okay, so taking these into consideration, I conducted user research and condensed my findings into a single persona. And that persona is Svetlana. So meet Svetlana Newkirk. She is a 23-year-old Black British trainee lawyer, and she also works part-time as a company secretary. This means that she constantly is learning new information and leads a very busy life. Her goals is to pick up new terminology and retain those words into her long-term memory, which is something she struggles with. And she also believes that these steps will help her take one step forward to becoming a certified lawyer. Now, the problems that she has is that she struggles adding new jargon into her vernacular. There's one thing picking up in work, but then there's another thing actually using it in your everyday, and that is a key way of learning. Also, she's very active on social media. So when she tries to revise those in-between moments, like on the bus or like in her break room, for example, she gets a message from Stacey commenting on her new cat picture on Instagram, and that just takes her out of the revising mode. All this plus her gamer tendencies means that she has quite a short attention span and has a competitive nature that she doesn't feel is stimulated when she is revising. So here is my initial wireframes. So as you can see here, this set of images is for reviewing sets. This is like on a set kind of homepage, and it has the terms and definitions listed, as well as a plus button, which I thought was kind of a universal indicator of adds new options, like new terminology if you want to keep adding to the list. It also gives you the choice to review the words, so you've got the option to review it through practice or via quiz. So do you want to quiz yourself, or it gives you 4 different ways of reviewing, like based on the senses. I wanted to kind of stimulate the viewer in case they're not into just traditional ways of learning. So you've got flashcard, write, audio, and whiteboard. Also, on the last of the 4 images, you can see the flashcard demonstration. So the point of that is that if you are familiar with the words, swipe right on the happy face. If you're not familiar, swipe left, which kind of the algorithm will keep bringing up the cards that you're uncertain with until you feel certain. So the second lot shows uploading definitions. So in the first image, you've got the option to input terms, and there is the plus button, or you can scan notes or import notes from software like Microsoft Word or Excel. Then the other wireframes kind of take you through how you would import it. So you can take a picture on your camera. It works like other scanning apps do. You take a picture, it kind of scans it for you. You can edit settings, then upload. So when it came down to the initial prototypes for that first round, I got very mixed feedback, more on the negative side in terms of people finding the wayfinding kind of confusing. Alex24, he said it was rather convoluted. So he said there's a lot going on, and Kevin said no sense of community despite advertising this on the onboarding. So what I got from this is that although there was a lot of attempts at making this a kind of USP, make this stand out from the other competitors, it didn't follow the fourth principle that we talked about in the brief, which was that aspect of flow. So my hypothesis was that I need to make it simple, emphasize on a simple flow for users. Navigation is a must. Have consistent navigation and communities. Include features that highlight the communal feel to the product. I think incorporating all these three will just make it very easy for the user to use, and require little thought, as they're already thinking so much as they have to learn. They don't want any more. So next up, we've got our revised wireframe. So the first set here, done on Figma, it shows uploading the definitions. Here I've simplified everything. You can put the set name, you can title the set on the same page, and you can add the terminology. We've got simple plus with a caption that says add more, just to keep it clear. And the part that I didn't include in my previous wireframe is the option, well, not the option, but a confirmation from the app. It's just like a little onboarding message that shows that it has been saved. It's to avoid any confusion. You know it's been saved, so now you can move on. In terms of enhancing navigation, it gives you the option to go back home or add more sets. So exactly, you know exactly where you're going. The next one is retaining information. Now we've got two options here, so I simplified it from 4 different options to 2, just to keep to the core of things and keep the flow going smoothly. So we've got a quiz option where you can fill in like multiple choice, and it will just present with you a message if you're incorrect or correct in your selection. At the end of that, like at the end screen, you're given kind of statistics. So good job, you've scored X out of 10, and it'll tell you which terminology you need to work on. So you know, and you can just go back into the flashcard and check what, or revise the things that you are slacking in. And the third kind of picture here shows the flashcard. So I wanted to kind of emulate the feel of a flashcard, being able to flip it. I also wanted a progress bar so you just can visually see how far you are into the set. And next card, just kept it simple, efficient, and it kind of emulates real life, so it's not convoluted for anyone. Additional features that I added, which wasn't in the previous wireframe, but I thought taking into consideration the previous responses, was the option to search online, like search through your community for sets, search for people to add. Maybe you want to revise with people, you want to check out someone else's sets. That gives you an option. And also a focus mode. This kind of elaborates on the previous, when I was looking at the previous apps, and what I wanted to do was to have the option to mute notifications on the app. That means you don't have to go off the app to mute notifications, which could tempt you further into clicking on something else. Everything stays condensed in one place. That way, if Svetlana wants to mute Stacy, who is commenting too much on Instagram, she can just tick that box and suddenly it's muted for the time being. And when she wants to come back on, she can just turn off focus mode. So the usability feedback was much more positive from this. Tisha age 33 said it was very easy to use. Beth said does the job as a flashcard app, which is good. It does what it says it will do, and I think that hits those rules of simplicity that I wanted to. Now to conclude, here are the 4 main kind of principles that I didn't initially have, and I think I learned it, and it was a key principle that I will continue to use throughout my designer journey. Number 1 is simplicity. Simplicity is always a good starting point. First, optimize the flow for users, then expand. Navigation, having consistent navigation bar is very key, again, to help with simplicity. Community is very important. The importance of having a community features for engagement is very key. I think that becomes a unique selling point no matter what app you're doing. And copy. The less text you have, the better. Comparing my first wireframes to my second, you can see the text is massively reduced, and it just not only makes the app look cleaner, it's just more consistent. You don't have to over-explain anything. So those were the main principles, and that was my design project. Thank you so much for listening and watching this. I hope you enjoyed it.